Hello, hey, it's July 4th. It's about 100 degrees heat index outside. That's why I'm down here making these videos. It's been so hot the past week or so, I can't even go outside, so I might as well be holed up here in my basement where it's about, I'm guessing, 65 degrees. It's pretty chilly, even have to wear an extra shirt here. And so I'm going to try to knock out these videos while I can, because when the weather gets cooler, I'll probably be outside more. Anyway, today we're talking about Thomas Aquinas. Absolutely impossible to do any sort of justice to the man in a 4 or 5 minute video, but here's the best we'll do. He lived 1225 to 1274. He is the doctor of the church. There's been a little bit of loosening of the Thomistic grasp on Catholic philosophy in the 20th century, as the church has become a little bit more modern and has welcomed other modes of thought. But still, if you want to grasp just philosophy in general, especially Catholic philosophy, you have to come to grips with Thomas Aquinas first. Sure, you might then branch off into phenomenology. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Don't know much about it. Or existentialism or other modes of thought, but you got to get Aquinas first, and then you can branch off. It's like being a great writer. They say, well, great writers break the rules of grammar all the time, and that's accurate. But they get the rules of grammar, and they know what they're breaking when they do. You got this similar with Aquinas. You may have to break these rules of philosophy, but you have to understand it first and know what you're doing, know where you're deviating. Anyway, Thomas Aquinas' great work was this, the Summa Theologica. It's supposed to be a summary of philosophy. I think meant for high schoolers, oddly enough. He never finished it, and this is point one of Thomas I want to point out. In 1273, he is coming back from Mass, Feast of St. Nicholas, and his friend Reginald noticed he looked altered, just looked different, and he stopped writing the Summa, and Reginald asked him, and Thomas Aquinas basically said, I can write no more. And Reginald said, this is a great work. What do you mean? And Aquinas said, everything I've written is straw. We don't know what happened. We know he had a mystical experience. They thought maybe he was having a stroke or something, but he wasn't. He lived for another year. He was fine, peaceful as always. He said there's nothing else to write, and because ultimately God's reality transcends all, and we can begin to comprehend it. And even though he wrote this 5-volume work, which stops in mid-sentence, by the way, under the Sacrament of Penance, that's what he was working on when he stopped writing after his mystical experience in 1273. It said to him, it's just all straw. It just doesn't begin to come, doesn't even scratch the surface of God. Quite a testament that I just love it, because his life is a testament to the virtues of study and thought, philosophy, things I think are crucial to the good life. But ultimately, it doesn't mean anything. And that's why you can have the most intellectual Catholic who's very impressive in his learning, or you can just have the simple peasant woman in the pew saying the rosary, and probably the second one's more valuable in the eyes of God. I just love that juxtaposition of Thomas's life. The other thing I've pointed out, and other points, I love the way that Thomas Aquinas pointed out that God's essence is to exist. Essence is an existence. Essences are things that kind of define a person. Eric's 5'9", Eric wears glasses, Eric's balding. Those are his essences. Those don't really, they explain who I am, but they don't restrict my existence. But why does Eric exist? That's a whole other, a lot of people ask that. But that's a whole other question. When it comes to God, people have always, they've always tried to figure out who he is, whatever, and Thomas was the first one to fully articulate. It had been hinted at by other philosophers, but he was the one fully to articulate that God's essence is just to exist. And the reason I find that so stunning is he said this in the 13th century. In about 1400 BC, Moses heard the same thing when he told God at Sinai, who should I tell people who you are? And he said, my name is I am who am, Yahweh, I am who am. That's really stunning. Took 2,500 years for anyone to know what that meant. Everyone knew that's his name. Didn't make any sense, but that's what Moses was told. Moses obviously heard something, and people just accepted it. 2,500 years later, we had the intellectual, philosophical tools to actually decipher it. Again, I've always found that pretty amazing, and again, corroboration that revelation did exist throughout the Old Testament and with Moses, and continued to exist into the New Testament. Okay, I'm at 5 minutes, a little bit over that actually. Until next time.